Alright, so this is going to be another movie review. This one's called The Private Affairs of Belle Amie, starring George Sanders, Angela Lansbury, and John Carradine. John Carradine only appears in the first half of the movie. It's mostly George Sanders and Angela Lansbury. So this is supposed to be a story about a scoundrel in Paris, 1880. Played by George Sanders. He was great in The Son of Monte Cristo, and I think the similarity to this one, and there are some similarities to this one in The Picture of Dorian Gray, for instance. Both George Sanders and Angela Lansbury were in The Picture of Dorian Gray. Both Picture of Dorian Gray and The Private Affairs of Belle Amie have one color shot of the painting. Both these movies have color paintings, and the rest of the movies are in black and white. And I believe the director of both Private Affairs of Belle Amie and Picture of Dorian Gray are the same. So these are three great movies. I love this one too. It's kind of a well, George Sanders plays a womanizer. I mean, he must go through like 5 or 6 different women in this one. And my understanding is that there's a remake this year with Uma Thurman, which I have no interest in watching, by the way. But getting back to the story, so he starts out with this lady who's like drinking coffee or whatever. Then he goes on to Angela Lansbury. But first, he bumps into his old army buddy, John Carradine. And he's sort of penniless. He's only got, I don't know, the equivalent of maybe 5 cents in US dollars left in his pocket, I guess. And he's got rent due. He's got like a Punch and Judy little glove that he wears. It's kind of cool. And he's a big admirer of Punch. He calls himself an egotist, and he goes through women quite quickly. But anyway, so John Carradine lends him 100 francs and gets him a job at his newspaper business. Then he starts having an affair with John Carradine's wife while John Carradine is dying, and through all this, Angela Lansbury's kind of heartbroken. She's been in love with him the whole time, but he ends up marrying John Carradine's wife, and Angela Lansbury plays the widower also. She's kind of she's got a young daughter, and I guess she's not as wealthy or prestigious as the other Paris babe, John Carradine's wife. So George Sanders marries her, John Carradine's widower wife, out of practical purposes. He tells Angela Lansbury. Then he eyes some other Paris babe, like an older woman who has a lot of power and influence in government. He's like pissing off this dude that works at the newspaper. Later on becomes Minister of Finance or something. So that comes back to haunt him later. He tries to steal the name of a prestigious family because they're not around anymore. And then the dude comes back, and they agreed to a duel. Meanwhile, George Sanders is divorced John Carradine's wife. I guess he's sick and tired of her, and she's not trustworthy to him. So she marries the young daughter of one of the artist dudes. I guess he's the dude that made the gruesome painting. It looks like images from hell. It's a pretty good painting, actually. And yeah, so there's that, and the plot's quite confusing. You got to really follow what they're saying in order to understand what's going on. It's Paris in 1880, so the language is, even in English, is quite complicated compared to the movies that come out now. For instance, probably the remake doesn't have this kind of dialogue to the degree that it did in the 1940s. Let's see, when did this movie come out? Pulling it up now. Oh, 1947. By the way, George Sanders is a great actor. I like all of his movies. I'd like to see some more of movies like this with him in it. He plays a good villain. He was also a good villain in Son of Monte Cristo. That's another great movie that he's in. I wasn't too sure that he was a bad guy in this. I didn't get that impression. I thought he was just egotistical and ambitious. Maybe the ambitious part was bad. Like he wanted to be the most powerful person in Paris because I guess he grew up in the countryside, sort of like Mao Tse-Tung, I guess. Sort of a power-hungry dude. So I didn't like him in that respect. But in other respects, I thought he was kind of cool. I mean, he could charm any woman that he wanted, and he was good at it. So yeah, there's that. I gave this movie 5 stars. I enjoyed it a lot. Like I said, I enjoy watching old George Sanders black and white films, especially film that's the same director who did Picture of Dorian Gray. I wasn't even expecting that, but you get a little Dorian Gray painting. Not the same painting, but kind of similar. So that was cool. I thought that was a nice touch that the director used. Okay, somebody's calling. I guess my wife's calling. Later.